Hi everyone, I'm doing my presentation on the Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale for the Grading and Assessment Research Project. The Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale was created by Alfred Binet, who was a French psychologist. He worked with Theodore Simon and they published the first intelligence test in the early 1900s. Their goal together in creating the test was to help to identify students who needed extra help with school curriculum. So the intelligence scale is a standardized test that is used to measure the cognitive abilities in children and adults. So children as young as 2 years old can be given the test. One of the things that I did read in my research was that the test, although it can be given to children as young as 2 years old, it's more difficult to interpret the findings as far as the intelligence scale because their ability to sit and concentrate for that long on questions it varies in children that young. So that's something to keep in mind. But the test is used to diagnose learning disabilities, developmental delays, developmental disorders, or giftedness. So this is a great tool for educators, especially at the primary, middle school, high school level, to diagnose students that could possibly have learning disabilities. The average time to complete the test is between 45 and 90 minutes, but it can take as long as 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's made up of 4 cognitive area scores. So the areas are in verbal reasoning, abstract visual reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and short-term memory. So if you look at the picture in the center of the screen, you'll see the type of reasoning and then the example of what you're going to find on the test. So for verbal reasoning, you're going to see vocabulary and comprehension questions. Quantitative reasoning, you're going to see number series. Abstract and visual reasoning, you're going to see paper folding, copying. And then short-term memory, you're going to see memory for sentences and then memory for digits. So here it says that within the test are 15 subtests that are grouped into the 4 area scores. And then depending on the age of the person taking the test, it'll determine how many subtests are given. So the minimum number of subtests is going to be 6. And then the subtests are in the areas of vocabulary, comprehension, pattern analysis, quantitative bead memory, and then memory for sentences. So here on the left side of the screen, you can see 2 examples of what you're going to find on the Stanford Binet Intelligence test. And it's basically these 2, you're going to have 2 pictures on the top of the 4 boxes and then 1 picture on the bottom, and you're going to pick the best picture that goes with what you see at the top. So for example, the first one you see 2 animals sitting and then you see 2 animals running. So then in the bottom square you see 2 children sitting and then you want to find what would go in that square. And then the same for the bottom picture, it shows refrigerator and then carton of milk and then a blank square and then it looks like jeans laying flat. So then you would pick the best picture that would go in that square. So here are more examples of the test. Which answer fits the missing space to complete the pattern? So you'll look at the pattern and then you'll choose from the bottom 6 squares what would go in the missing space. And then the paper folding and cutting. So it shows you how the paper is folded, what it looks like when it's complete, and where they cut the paper. And then they want you to figure out what the paper is going to look like once it's unfolded. More examples, you have the number patterns and then the shape patterns, and then it says mark the person playing something other than the piano. The average score on the test is going to be 100 with a standard deviation of 16, so plus or minus 16. A score of 100 is in the normal or average range of intelligence. And then here you can see that the IQ classification. So a score of 145 to 160 is going to be very gifted or highly advanced. 130 to 144 is going to be gifted or very advanced. 120 to 129 superior. 110 to 119 is going to be high average. 90 to 109 is average. 80 to 89 low. 70 to 79 is borderline impaired or delayed. 55 to 69 is going to be mildly impaired or delayed, and then 40 to 54 is going to be moderately impaired or delayed. So that is the Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale. Thank you so much for watching, and then if you have any questions, just leave them below.